Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee or a delicious menu item while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Come by and say hello to Maui. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
Hi, I'm Ike. I'm 5 years old, going on 6, and I'm the new monster hunter in town. How am I supposed to learn in school when I have these guys to worry about and these two? Read my story and you'll see a lot of big monsters and monster fights. Plus, I'm in it too!
Hi there. So as you just heard, Amerikaiju is a story about a 5-year-old named Ike and his journey to becoming the next great monster hunter. He can't do it by himself because he is a little guy, so he has these two mentors with super different ideologies. On one end you have the fighter who just wants to get in, get out, and then you have the older brother who wants to plan everything out. Ike has to balance between both of these ideologies and make his own decisions. And in doing so, he's going to face off against some pretty big characters. We're going to throw a lot at this little guy, starting off with Chupacabra's Beast of Churubusco. We're going to have Momo and Snallygaster. There's a lot of favorites in there of mine. And hopefully you guys enjoy monsters as much as I do. And you'll follow along with this story where you'll see Ike as a character evolve beyond just duking things out. So please follow along. Thank you so much for listening this far, and thank you in advance for sharing. We really appreciate each and every one of you taking the initiative and getting out there.
And good evening, everybody. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at CriticalBlast.com, Chief Envelope Liquor at Critical Blast Logistics. I want to get some envelope liquor now. I've been saying that enough that I'm like, I'm thirsty, and I'm desperate enough that I might just ferment that envelope glue and see what comes out of it. But not tonight. Tonight, we are getting to go into, what this situation needs? Light. Hey, look at that. It makes all the difference in the world. I've grown accustomed to having bat-like senses, not the Bruce Wayne way, just the I'm cloistered in the dark all the time way. And as I work here, so, I don't get the cool benefits of it. Anyway, we are here to talk about some crowdfunded comics tonight, and we are going to dig into the second volume of Amerikaiju. Yes, Amerikaiju. It's fusion, man. It's like some of those great restaurants you're going to. We are here to talk with Amerikaiju's creator, Mr. Edgar Pasten. Edgar, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. I can finally hear you.
Yes. Well, it's all this technology. It only works when it's all plugged in correctly.
Right.
It's only as strong as its weakest link. So a router between me and you goes out, we're dead.
Yeah, no, and I would be the weakest link because typically this has been a non-starter, but I've been able to work from my studio this whole time without any issues. But today we had some work in the house, and somehow I don't know what happened with the wiring, so it was a little twitchy there. But glad it all worked out.
Usually it's somebody else in the house decides to watch Netflix, and suddenly there's a pull on the Wi-Fi. It's like the strain is too much for the system.
Yeah, most of the time that's me though.
So I see Kaiju, and of course,
yes,
all I think is, giant Japanese monsters,
Right.
but it's Amerikaiju.
Yeah. And actually, that was a great intro. The fusion part of it is exactly what we're going after here. It's you know what kaiju are for the most part, and if you don't, they're it's the Japanese term for monster,
Yeah,
for not just monster but giant monster, right?
I would say
And
skyscraper sized.
yeah, exactly. And for me and my story, I grew up watching a lot of those movies. I grew up like everybody else, right? Everybody, has watched every one of those black and white movies down to Power Rangers episodes and Kai Ruger and all that. But it's always been very much Japanese monsters, and there's always been this aura of they're over there, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes Godzilla visits us, right? And we get a battle or two here in the States, but I figured there's so much lore locally that can be used for that same purpose. Let's create some stories and myths around the monsters that are here in the States that are native to our little continent, because it is Amerikaiju, as in the continent America, right? So we're including some really strange ones from way south, South and South America, and we're trying to do things a little bit differently. So in my story, they are giant monsters, but it's not as of right now, it's a group of monsters joining together to become a giant monster. So it's kind of it's kind of like, think of Power Rangers but in reverse, right? So it's the bad guys teaming up and creating this giant mech, or in this case it's a giant monster. And that's part of the twist that I'm adding to this to this type of story.
So you said you're going to delve into the American lore.
Yes.
That just all I can think of is like Sasquatch and Chupacabra.
Right.
So they're not giant size, but if they get together and build a mech, and so they're intelligent monsters.
Right. So in the story, there's a point where, and I'll show you who I'm talking about here, but his name is Tagarik, and he is the leader of these monsters. He's kind of the de facto leader, and basically he comes in and says, "Hey, you nine, get together. Let's make this giant monster," and he becomes this.
And I'll form the head.
What's that?
And I'll form the head.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'll form the head. Kind of, the same way that you would see the mechs in those Japanese movies come together. These monsters are doing the same thing for one another to become something greater. And in this case, the monsters are battling our main protagonist. His name is Hero. All of this is there's a little bit of cheese thrown in. So the character's name is Hero, and that's specifically because our protagonist, or hero, is actually 5 years old, and he's choosing his name sort of like an avatar. He starts off thinking that this is all a video game, and he makes his own avatar to look like his favorite TV star, and he names him Hero, just like his real life hero. So there's a little bit of cheese in there because of the level of I guess the kids level, right? The 5-year-old mind of naming these things. And I actually had my 5-year-old help me name these things.
I was going to ask who that was in the video. Did the voiceover?
Yeah, that was my son. He's
he did
a super
great
talented
job.
voice actor already.
he no, seriously though, because I had when my 14-year-old, when he was 5 or less, I had to work with him a little bit, but once he started hearing his voice come back, then he just kind of went nuts and made crazy sounds. But I had him program my Garmin. So I had him put the headphones on and say all the little phrases, turn right, turn left.
Nice.
And then I'd take people from work to lunch, and we'd go, and there'd be like a 5-year-old coming out of the Garmin. That dates it,
Right.
and it's a Garmin.
That's pretty cool.
But he's very professional at that. I mean, you could seriously audition that tape and get him a career going.
Thank you. Yeah, no, he is. We have fun together with this. This is a lot of this. really revolves around the lessons that I'm trying to impart on him. And we're doing that through monsters, of course, because that gets his attention. I talk to him about monsters, and he's attentive, and he's drawing, and he's wanting to be part of it. And this was a fun project for me to resurrect. This has been a very, very long project in the works. I started this back in 2009 as a pet project, and kind of a response to a very negative comment that I received at a convention at one point. And this guy said something to the effect of, Americans can't make kaiju. My buddy and I were sculpting some kaiju of our own, and guy walks away, and I stayed there fuming, of course. I'm like, who does this guy think he is? I wanted to have all these comebacks and really punch his lights out, but my buddy calmed me down. We worked through it. We just kind of kept going. And the next day, that next Monday that I came into work, because we worked together, I came in and I was like, you know what? I'm still angry, but I'm going to focus it on something else. Right. So I started drawing monsters. I wasn't even like, before that, my focus was not on monsters. I draw the occasional monster, but it became just this like laser focus. I'm drawing monsters now because this guy said that Americans can't do it. I was like, I'm this is my spiteful response to that, and then I came up with a name, Amerikaiju, as a hashtag. I was like, I'm going to add this hashtag to these drawings and, really stick it to them. And I don't know if I ever did or not, but I started posting, drawing after drawing, and, just putting stuff up and putting it together. And I left it alone for a while because I was, working professionally. And, finally during the pandemic, my son was 5 years old. The hero happened to be a 5-year-old, and it just kind of, was a perfect storm at that time. And, again, a lot of this is revolved around my son.
Yeah, well, the pandemic gave a lot of people the opportunity to move forward with projects like this.
Right.
I apparently didn't take advantage of it. I need a do-over. I need a second pandemic. Can I get one of those?
Well, I mean, just the simple fact that, for instance, myself, I used to have a much longer commute, but my commute was between 30 minutes and an hour every day, one way. So, I got 2 hours of my day back just, in the snap of the fingers. And, with that time, I said, well, I started off like everybody else, like saying, well, let's spend more time with the kids, or, do extra things around the house. And once once I was able to do that, I was like, oh, maybe I can spend a little extra time on those projects that I haven't touched. And, again, it was a perfect storm, because I probably would have, just gone on and kept working longer hours, on my professional stuff, as opposed to, to touching on some of this stuff that's more personal. But, again, perfect storm hit, and, here we are.
So, you were doing these kaiju sculptures at a convention, and then you moved on to this. That tells me that you're working in comics or in pop culture in some other aspect before this. Where have we seen you before?
So in a roundabout way, I have been designing toys for a little over 20 years. And, my stuff, I've done internships and freelance and stuff like that for, big makers like Mattel and Hasbro, and, all the big guys, a lot of little guys, a lot of, kind of mid-sized companies. But I've been doing that for about 20 years. And I've had a lot of projects that, thank God I've been blessed that I've stumbled onto some really cool things, and had a very successful career so far. And now I'm working as an art director for a very big company named Ravensburger. So that keeps me busy for about 12 hours a day. And then, the second half of my day starts, once that day stops, I work on this stuff.
Yeah, the second half of the day, when you're supposed to get some of that's supposed to go to sleep.
Right.
Go towards that.
Yeah. My wife would agree with you. I tend to sleep Realistically, between 4 and 6 hours a night. 6 hours if like I'm waiting on other people to turn stuff in, or that kind of thing. But um, typically, I'm up for that amount of time, and I'm just plugging away at different things. Trying to move a little bit at a time on a lot of things.
So is there any is there any collaboration between you and your son on the Amerikaiju project to
Very
get
much.
5-year-old feedback and input on something like that?
Very much so. Yeah. So he's chosen the first couple of the monsters that are appearing. So he's basically chosen the order of appearance of those monsters, and he's also named a bunch of the things within the story. So there's some, again, this is the cheese factor that only a 5-year-old could do, right? Our protagonist, his hero name is Hero, and the sword that he wields is the sword of swordiness. And I kid you not, I talked to him and I was like, well, what would you name this sword if this was what you could do? And he goes, it would be the sword of swordiness because it's the swordiest sword, Dad. And I'm like, sure, that makes
I like
perfect
it.
sense.
We've
Right.
we've adjectivized the sword.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we Americans can create kaiju. I mean, come on, I've looked at the Japanese kaiju. They're pretty silly looking most of the time when you look at the
Right.
60s.
Right.
Not King Ghidra, King Caesar. I look at that thing, I'm like,
You picked a good
that's a Maurice Sendak drawing from Where the Wild Things Are. That's
Right,
a straight lift.
one. Right. Yeah. I mean, they have a lot of what I love about those monsters, and really about 99% of the monsters that are out there is that there's so much thought that goes into their design, right? So, you look at a typical monster like that and you go, well, why are there horns on there? Is it just because they wanted horns? No, there's some story element that plays into that, right? And for myself, I do the same thing. So one of the main characters in the first arc, which is issues 1 through 3, is the Beast of Churubusco, and he is basically, he's described in real folklore as a VW Volkswagen sized turtle, and it's supposed to be this like super dangerous snapping turtle and all that. But I could have just drawn a turtle and been done with it. But for me, what I wanted to infuse was a lot of the story elements that come into play. And there's a really interesting story where the owner of the pond where the Beast of Busco was first seen, actually went bankrupt in 1949 because he drained the lake. He had scuba divers out there. He paid, I don't know, like I think it was somewhere around $5,000 at the time, back in 1948 or 1949, I should say.
Yeah.
To have scuba divers come in and verify his story because nobody would believe him. It made national news, but nobody believed him around him. And so he actually goes to the extent of, putting his house up. He brings this scuba diving team in. Turns out he bought or he ordered the wrong scuba diving gear. So he spent all this money for nothing, right? Oh. So I added some of that scuba gear to my monster as kind of an homage to that story, which I thought, man, it's so tragic for that one farmer. But it all of those things play into the designs and the stuff that we're showing off with these monsters, right? So it's not just here's a turtle and we're going to the next guy,
Yeah, exactly. For the folks in the chat here, we've got Mike Walters, Bap2 is out there, Nefarious. Good to see all you guys. We are talking about Amerikaiju Returns. This is the second volume in the series, and it's a real easy night, guys, because you can put your wallets away. All you got to do is click on the Notify Me on launch. You can look at that. There's nothing to this page but one picture, so I don't even have to keep it up the whole time. The link is below.
I can actually walk you through the presentation if you like.
I would love that. Let's see some Amerikaiju. I will unshare this. And by the way, folks, the link is below the video and it's also pinned to the top of the chat. while we're live tonight. So you've got no excuses. Hit that reminder link and get on the mailing list for Amerikaiju. When this does launch, Edgar, you're going to have, one assumes, a catch-up tier for the people who didn't get the first volume?
Yes, of course. Yeah, those issues 1 through 3 will be available in this second campaign. And they are also available on our website, amerikaijucomic.com.
Okay, so 1 through 3, then this is your fourth campaign.
Well, no, issues 1 through 3 are available. This would be the second campaign for Amerikaiju. Does that make sense?
I think so. So the last campaign was for 3 issues.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and this one coming up is also for 3 issues. That would be issues 4, 5, and 6. So what I've been doing is collecting them as a volume for folks that want that reward tier. And that actually works out real nice because those books are so beautifully made that it's a very classy look.
I just threw the link out into the chat. If anybody wants to go out there and buy 1 through 3 now, you're not gonna hurt anybody's feelings. Yeah, it might boosted the campaign if you'd have got them as an add-on tier, but money's money. Money now is better than money later.
Yeah, and I think that that all works. We're going to be releasing the date for this campaign very soon. As you know, you might know Kevin from Inked Marketing.
Absolutely,
we're working together on an actual release date for campaign number 2. Definitely wanted to get the word out a little bit better this time around. I definitely put him and his team through the ringer the first time around. I didn't really start doing anything until about 17 days into the campaign, and we barely squeaked by. So I want to try and
work better under pressure. Yeah, you work better under pressure with a deadline looming. Edgar is with us tonight as part of the NSC Roadshow. If you saw the extra intro videos that we threw here tonight, we're part of this network of podcasts where we get access to a lot of people that we wouldn't have otherwise. Come on our show and talk about their Kickstarter comics through the NSC Roadshow opportunity. Are you going to share a screen with information on here?
Yeah. Oh, is it not sharing yet?
It's not sharing yet. I'm still waiting on the little.
I have to agree to share. This whole time I was. Okay, let's see. A window, edit project, and go. Okay, that's much better. I was having to split my screen here. I had to come in on my.
And are you using the share option on StreamYard or on your project there?
On StreamYard.
Okay, because I'm still not getting it.
Let's see, share. It says it lost permission to share.
That's weird. You must be on an Apple product.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Everything has been explained.
I've never had this issue on my other computer. I have an iMac outside, and let's see, share that. Does that work? Nope.
It seems like. What if I went to the old Kickstarter? Would that have?
It'll have some of the information on there as well. I'll keep trying on my end, but I can talk through that stuff on here too. Let me see if I can figure this out. Privacy. So the first campaign, as I said, was a little hair raising because I didn't start any. I think a lot of it is hubris, right? Just getting my mind, getting myself ready for something like this. I figured, I'll just put it out there, and people will see that it's cool monsters, and of course, people will share it, right? And
yeah. That's like, when I publish a book, it's like, it's on Amazon. People go to Amazon, they'll see it.
Right.
There's like, it's out there with the other 3 million titles.
Yeah.
So this is the other project. And we do have a question for you already in the chat here.
Oh, perfect.
From the Ferris, he'd like to know how many pages each issue and whether or not they are full color. I believe the answer to the second one is yes, but
So yes, 22 pages. I believe issue 1 ended up being 24 pages. Yeah. But they're 22 pages each, and yes to full color. I just love I like the fact that we can use the color to help you feel, kind of in the mood,
oh yeah, the color is great for that.
Yeah. And I know somebody had mentioned earlier I think they said something about something like Voltron, where the monsters
Yeah.
come together, and yes, it's very similar to that, where it's the monsters doing that and not the hero. So the hero is on his own, and the monsters themselves are the ones that are coming together to form this big beast. And
So
that's actually
we've got to
the Beast
stop
of
them from
Churubusco
getting
there
that
you
done.
have. I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
We've got to stop them from getting that done.
Oh yeah.
So
And
this
that's the
this
Beast
looks
of
like the
Churubusco.
turtle.
Correct.
And
So
'cause he's
there are
got
little
this-
things on there, like the anchor plays a big role in the actual folklore. The diving equipment, as I mentioned, was the farmer, mortgaging his house and getting the wrong equipment. So we threw it onto the Beast of Busco as a little trophy.
Now, the person fighting him here, this is Ike's, one of his advisors of some sort, I'm not sure what they are yet. Whether they're like little angels and devils on his shoulder, some sort of thing like that. Looks like Taskmaster, but he's obviously supposed to be the good guy or a good
Yeah.
guy.
So that is actually Hero. That's his alter ego. That's what he becomes when he becomes the hero of the story. And then you
Okay.
have his mentors are the red and blue guys there, and those guys are very much like spirits at this point.
Now I see it. So this, as he fades from this to this,
Right.
he's got his little VR glasses on, and these are his spirit guides. Okay, now I'm with you.
Yeah, and that's actually initially when he creates this alter ego of Hero. He had been doing it using his VR goggles that he had made at home, and that was also inspired by something my son does all the time, which is he'll take old technology that we have laying around, and that whether I'm keeping it just for the sake of keeping it or whatever. He grabbed old VR goggles and he grabbed old hard drives of mine and started plugging things together as best as he could. And he would run around the house pretending that he was, playing a video game. He hasn't been exposed to actual video games. I think the most he's gotten is like our old Nintendo Wii. And he loved that so much that he was like, he saw these commercials for the, I forget what the VR goggle is.
There's a couple of different ones, yeah.
Yeah, the Oculus. So he saw a commercial for the Oculus, and of course he was like, "Well, Dad, I want that." He started playing with these old goggles that I had. All very rudimentary kid, cheesy kid stuff that he's doing, but it was so cool to see him do that I threw that into the story a little bit. But that's why he initially thinks that it's all part of a video game. He thinks, well, this is cool. I have a video game to play with, and it's so immersive. And he quickly finds out that it's not a video game, and that it's basically him becoming this hero.
Yeah. You should throw your son in front of Explorers, that old 1980s Disney movie.
Oh yeah.
Where the kid's taking all kinds of different old technology and
Yeah.
opens a wormhole to another planet.
Nice, yeah.
You might actually have that happening in your living room from the way you're
Right,
describing.
yeah. That can get very dangerous around here because he doesn't need a lot of a lot of prodding to do that kind of stuff. Anytime we get some Amazon boxes, they become time machines or cars or whatever it is, and he's creating all the time. So
it's a great time in their lives. Soak it in, because it goes away
Yeah,
too
for
fast.
sure.
So he's thinking he's playing a video game. He's actually somewhere else in reality, fighting real things.
Right.
At which point does he find this out rather quickly, or does he
Yeah,
get
during his
like,
during
"Ow,
his
that really
very
hurts"?
yeah during his very first battle, he actually jumps out and thinks he's gonna go play outside in the yard, and gets walloped, and then he quickly finds out that there's pain here, and he's like, that page that you were showing basically shows like, oh well, I'm done with this, and he takes off the goggles, and he goes, oh wait, I'm in Dad's garden, and I've just trampled all over it. So he kind of finds out because he gets hurt, and he's like, I've had enough, lands there, and then when he comes back from doing his activity, he goes, okay, now that I'm done, explain this to me. And that's how he finds out that he's not inside of that all the stuff that was going on was not in his video game.
It's going to be up to him to save the world. So when we go into issues 4, 5, and 6, can you tell us a bit about the kaiju he's going to encounter in this part of the story arc? I'm assuming he hasn't run into all 9 of them yet.
No, so he's run into quite a few more lower level kind of monsters, and they have become the big monster. And he's kind of gotten lucky that there was a lot of hubris on the side of the big bad guy. But in the story, we're actually throwing a lot more monsters your way. So coming up in issue 5, I believe we're going to be throwing in Jersey Devil. We have Momo in issue 3, like as a background character.
Yes, I'm from St. Louis, so.
Oh, good. There you go. He's going to be making more of an appearance in issue 4 and part of 5. And we're going to start having fun with these characters a little bit more, and really start playing up the fact they're growing into these big giant things and kind of playing around in the city as opposed to staying outside in the outskirts of the town that he's in.
All right. Well, let me bring up, for those who haven't seen it, let me bring up the product video again here, and we'll let them get a little bit of a taste of what they missed the first time around.
Hi, I'm Ike. I'm 5 years old, going on 6, and I'm the new monster hunter in town. How am I supposed to learn in school when I have these guys to worry about and these two? Read my story and you'll see a lot of big monsters and monster fights. Plus, I'm in it too!
Hi there. So as you just heard, Amerikaiju is a story about a 5-year-old named Ike and his journey to becoming the next great monster hunter. He can't do it by himself because he is a little guy, so he has these 2 mentors with super different ideologies. On one end you have the fighter who just wants to get in, get out, and then you have the older brother who wants to plan everything out. Ike has to balance between both of these ideologies and make his own decisions. And in doing so, he's going to face off against some pretty big characters. We're going to throw a lot at this little guy, starting off with Chupacabra's Beast of Churubusco. We're going to have Momo and Snallygaster. There's a lot of favorites in there of mine. And hopefully you guys enjoy monsters as much as I do. And you'll follow along with this story where you'll see Ike as a character evolve beyond just duking things out. So please follow along. Thank you so much for listening this far. And thank you in advance for sharing. We really appreciate each and every one of you taking the initiative and getting out there.
Okay, so on the old Kickstarter page that I had up, I saw there was a tier for the toy.
Yes.
The vinyl toy. And there was no sense of scale in that thing. I'm like, okay, this is like one of these little thumb fighters. I saw them in your video. Those things are Funko Pop sized, man.
Actually, it dwarfs a Funko. The Funkos tend to be about 5 inches tall. This guy's 8 inches tall. I mean, he is a giant monster, and I wish I was still in the studio. I would have shown him off a little bit more, but I definitely have some videos and images with him in this coming screen that I'm sharing.
So do you have a new kaiju getting a toy this time around, or?
Sort of, yeah. So we do have a lot more variant covers coming up, and some of my favorites, of course, were you can kind of spy them coming up now. The Amerikaiju Kids, Garbage Pail Kid inspired covers. That was an idea that I've had for such a long time. I've been wanting to do something like that, and a good buddy of mine, Cairo, was like, hey, we've been talking about this, let's do it. So we threw in those two right now, and I'm working on a few more coming up. But I looked at all of those variant covers, and I know I covered this in another video, but man, I was so jealous because these guys are throwing up these variant covers and they're gorgeous. But I wanted to do something like that myself, and coming from a toy background, and having the capability of manufacturing these things, I basically just started making these toys as a response, right? So I was like, well, I don't want to just make another toy for the sake of making a toy. I want to make an homage, a kind of homage to these toys that I love so much. I see some of the comments there. Awesome, thank you. So my homage is basically to little people, and I came up with a few extra tiers where I create the monsters in miniature size, and they're going to be little people, so about 3 inches tall. They're still fairly tangible size, almost the same size as a Funko Pop, and you'll see them here in the Booyah level. Booyah level here will show you Hero, the main hero of our story, at $20, and that comes with issues 1 through 3, digital issues 1 through 3, and then I also have Beast of Busco. Again, this is the Mini Monsters line with the issues 1 through 3 available as well, or actually issues 1 through 6 in digital.
Oh wow! Okay, in digital. Okay.
Yeah, so you'll get issues 1 through 6 plus the figure. And of course, we always throw.
And we have some freezing going on. Darn you, Steve Jobs! Your Apple machines do not share well with StreamYard. We will continue to talk. Okay, chat, help me out. Am I the one that's frozen, or is Edgar the one that's frozen? I am checking it out. Okay, so it looks like I'm moving. I brought YouTube up on my phone. But it's definitely looking like Edgar is frozen. Edgar, you froze. You are definitely frozen, Edgar. And yes, now it's just me. So he's gone. He will pop back in. Darn Apple products. They don't play well. We've had a lot of guests just fight with it on StreamYard. That's something I think that we should actually, maybe we should send a note to StreamYard. They ask me every time I close this out, how did the stream go? And I'm always like, yeah, fine. I think I might just hit that button that says, yeah, no, it's we have a problem, Houston. So we'll just wait for Edgar to pop back in here. In the meantime, I can show, the old Kickstarter here. I'm digging the art. I want to find out, and I'm pretty sure that it's a child-friendly story. I know some of the covers looked like they were a little bit more mature, not mature, just, they were more detailed in their drawing than might what be the thing that appeals to a kid. But in looking at the internals here, this definitely looks like it's directed to something that a kid can read. And Edgar is back, and we were cursing Steve Jobs because, his Apple products just don't play well with this StreamYard thing. Never fear, we shall let StreamYard know.
Yeah.
And they're pretty good about fixing things when we tell them. So maybe they'll get on that next. So we were talking about the toys and the so it was digital copies that were coming with the toy levels there, the $20.
Correct.
Because I was like,
yeah.
whoa, all 3 issues and a toy for $20? Yeah, I'll take that any day of the week. George is in the chat. He wants to know, how can he get all the digitals up to date right now, which would be issues 1 through 3?
Yeah, so issues 1 through 3 are available either through our web shop on Instagram, or you can go to the website, and it's all at Amerikaiju Comics. So it's either at Amerikaiju Comics on Instagram, Facebook, etc., even TikTok, and AmerikaijuComic.com is the website, and you can find all of the issues digitally there, and also the physical books.
Yes, I do see everything there. It's about $10 per book, plus shipping.
For the physical.
Yeah, for the physical. The digitals are cheaper. The digitals are all right here, George. By the way, George, I was going to tell you to hang on after the show, so I could tell you about George.
Oh, nice.
George is a guy who does 3D prints. Apparently, you've already got a guy. He's also worked in the toy industry to do design work. He's done some work for Nelvana. So, whenever I get ideas for stuff, he's always the guy I call up and say, what's wrong with this idea? And he's like, nothing, except that you're thinking too small. Yeah. So
it's always good to have a guy.
Oh, yeah. It's always good to have a guy. And George is my guy.
That's good.
When I have a question about something business at all, George is my guy.
Nice. Well, George, reach out. We should talk, man.
So when are we launching Amerikaiju Returns?
That's a very interesting question. That would be more of a question directed at Kevin, since we're still working all of those kinks out. We're hoping early December, so that we can get some early bird stuff that we've been talking about. We were hoping for Black Friday, but there's still a little bit more that needs to be worked out. But we're hoping to do some early bird stuff, very special stuff for our followers.
Well, not to put a damper on your hopes and dreams and everything, especially since it's Kickstarter. You got 30 days. You have to use them all wisely. December is the worst time to kick off.
That's what I've heard.
A campaign.
Yeah. which is why he and I have been going back and forth about dates. We've had all of this done for the most part. 99% of this has been done. And we had been talking about an early October, and then that turned into November. And now, we're at this stage, and it's all been mostly on my end, being a little shy, pulling on the trigger there. But I think I'm going to pay the price if I don't do it soon.
I'm going to have to help George out here. George, if you go to the AmerikajuComic.com/shop, and then you say load more at the bottom. Okay. Second row, second option is issue number 2 in digital for $2.99. Third row, third option is Amerikaiju number 1, $2.99, and 3. I don't see 3 either for the digital version. So
most likely I'll have to update that, but I'll update that to most likely tomorrow morning. And I'll have like a 3-pack or something for you specifically.
Yeah, then tweet it out.
yeah. Yeah, if you follow George, if you follow the account at Amerikaiju Comic, I'll most likely be posting stuff on there, and update everybody on that for sure.
So you were talking about this one's going to come with some more toys. It's going to come with because your monster was a good 6 to 8 inches.
8 inches tall, right? With a bunch of different points of articulation. So for instance, his tail is 3 pieces, and you can shift all of that around. It's a nice, sturdy vinyl material. So it's basically the same material that you would have. Funko Pop's heads are made out of that like squishy rubber ducky material. It's that same stuff.
Yeah.
And there he is. And I know the scale doesn't, you can't really get a sense of scale on there, but he is actually 8 inches tall.
So the new figures are going to be smaller because they're going to be in scale with the monster.
Correct. Yeah. So the new figures are going to be three to 3.5 inches tall. And those are going to be those are going to be super cool because they're a good size, but they're awesome because you can fit a lot of them on your shelf, and that's actually a dream of mine to make enough that somebody can actually put those on their shelf.
Make the whole diorama of a Amerikaiju battle. Now,
right
now you have to be thinking ahead on this. Now that you've done everything to scale, Edgar, you've got Now that's I don't know which monster this is. I know it's not you got different names here, but those are the tiers. That's not the monster.
Right.
Tagarik. That's Tagarik. To keep everything to scale, when you reach the end of the line of this thing, you're going to have the mech.
Right.
and if you're already planning ahead, these will already be interconnectable to do that with.
Well, yeah, I mean, ideally it would work out like that for them to create the bigger monster, but unfortunately there's some limitations there for these guys. But we are thinking about making these guys in a larger scale to match that Tagarik, and for you to be able to see more of the detail, which one plugs in where, that kind of thing. So because of the material type, it's a little more difficult to get these things as perfectly shaped and sized.
Oh yeah, and these aren't just thrown into the bag with the book. You've actually got these on a bubble card.
So that one is actually on a header card with a bag.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's where the cardboard's folded over and then stapled on the bag.
Correct. Yeah,
okay, I got you.
Yeah, I thought it was a nice throwback. Again, for all of this stuff, it's kind of like, of course, the nostalgia factor plays a huge part in it, but it's also a lot cleaner of a look for me. And I would have to add so much more cost if I were to do a blister or a backer card or a box.
Yeah,
that it just wasn't worth it. I wanted to put the most attention on the figure itself, and the easiest way to display it and show it was throw it in a bag, put a header card on it, and there's some additional artwork on the header card by a good friend of mine. He goes by Butcher Brand on Instagram. Recommend looking at his stuff. I mean, he is another toy maker that is just super talented. He sculpts three-dimensional, on 3D stuff, and he sculpts traditionally by hand as well. So there's a lot of talent in all of this stuff.
Okay, so what is the how long is this story going to be in your head? Is this an ongoing battle against the evil kaiju, just like He-Man battling Skeletor's minions all the time, or the turtles always fighting the hand?
Yeah, so that's basically what I've turned it into. Originally, it was supposed to be a total of 6 issues, and there was so much just in the first issue that I extended it to be issues 1 and 2. And then once I did that, I was like, well, why am I trying to fit all of these details? It's too much to try and fit it into 1 issue or 2 issues. So I started, extending it and letting moments breathe a little bit more. So issues 1 through 3 were really where I've learned and grown a whole lot because of course hindsight is 2020, right? I did a lot of things in issue 1 that I avoided in issue 2, and so on and so forth. And issues 1 through 3 are not bad by any means, but it was basically it was basically me learning and adapting each time. So extending it just became a little bit more natural. So I do have an ending in mind, and everything is working towards that ending, where there is some growth to each character and all of that. But that moment is being pushed out a little further in time, specifically because I have so much more of a story to tell. Especially because, again, at the root of each one of these issues, there's a lesson for my son, and again, there's stuff that I want to focus on, and those are the moments that I'm trying to really emphasize in the stories, and then also appease the kid in me, right? The kid in me wants to see the monster fights and the big battles, and will they ever get mechs and stuff like that, right? Those are the answers I want to get to, and I also want to get to those lessons. So
Yeah,
yeah,
this has a real strong Turtles feel to it. In that I
grew
can
up
see,
with
each
Turtles.
issue being its own story. Forget the
Yeah.
arc. The arc is that they're always trying to win. That's the
Exactly.
arc.
Yeah.
But just like every issue is like oh, we've seen this monster here. Let's go stop him from doing whatever he's doing for Master Monster that's behind them all the time.
Right. But they learn a lesson in each episode, right? And that's basically the way that I've treated this is, he needs to learn a lesson, and you get the problem, then you get the consequence, and then you get the lesson at the end where he's like, oh, I see what I should have done, right? And now I'm gonna fix it, and now I'm gonna grow up a little bit more and be the hero, right?
So that when this gets picked up by Netflix for the series, you have that little bit at the end of every episode. In today's episode, Hero thought that he could fight the water monster by, and
there you go. Yeah, and there's some really cool moments where he does have to come to realization, and he is a hard-headed kid, just like every 5-year-old, I think. So trying to tell that story at the same time as appeasing that 5-year-old in me, thinking like, how cool would this monster be, right? And how cool would it be to defeat him this way? So,
and there's so many monsters that you can build off of out there in American folklore. There's Spring-Heeled Jack,
right?
There's Sand Yetis.
And I didn't know about 90% of what was out there. Believe me, I was drawing the very basic stuff, right? The stuff that I knew that was like near me in my area. But I never knew about like Jersey Devil. I didn't know that the team was named after this mythical creature. There's so much out there, like you're saying, like the Frogmen. I forget where the Frogmen are from. There's a couple different cities, but there's this whole Frogman thing and the Swamp Thing, and I mean,
I got to get you in touch with the get you in touch with the folks at 656 Comics. They're doing the Cryptidnals, which is a team of cryptids that are fighting against other monsters.
Right.
They're sort of like a Monster Justice League, but they've done a ton of research. Not only have they done a ton of research into all the different monsters that are out there, but one of them had a personal encounter with La Llorona that was very chilling when he was on our show. I was like, it's not Halloween, but I wish it was. This would be a great story.
Yeah, those are the best ones, right? Where you have this like very personal connection to that thing. For me, I don't have a one-to-one story like that, but I do have, like, growing up, I used to watch these Spanish TV show called Primer Impacto, which was a kind of I don't want to offend anybody, but it's kind of like a pseudo news show. They have a lot of like very sensational, kind of stories on there, and they showed chupacabras, right? And they started with the ominous music, and they show how these poor people out in I think it was Puerto Rico where it started, right? It started here in Puerto Rico, and then it jumped to Florida, and then it made itself its way over to Texas, and now it's making over to New Mexico. And I had this fear, like this very like. I remember this palpable fear of this thing coming, at night to attack me. And by this time I was, maybe 12, 13. So it's not like, it's not like I was a 5-year-old where it's like a very rational thing, right? I mean, watching these shows, they made it like the dramatic aspect to it and the story and the way that they lit things. I was 100% convinced that this thing existed and is, coming after me. So that was the way I grew up with these monsters and what I remembered of them, right? And that's what I'm trying to like infuse into these stories, but it's still an all ages book, so there's not so much gore.
Yeah, and I was talking about that while you were coming back from the last freeze up there. That it does look very much like the interiors, because some of the covers were like they weren't drawn mature, but they were drawn like elevated to like look like not so much a kid's book as it was a monster book,
Right.
just because of the level of detail. I mean, there's a difference obviously between a Richie Rich cover and a George Perez New Teen Titans cover. Both can be read by a kid, but you can tell this one's really for kids, and this one's a good story.
Right.
Not that kids' books can't be good stories. I don't mean that. Don't email me.
Yeah.
But it definitely looked like from the interior arts that this was being kept in a more simplified fashion. Again, very Turtles-like. Are you doing the art, or are you just doing the art direction and the writing? And just the art direction and the writing. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to enter that Twitter debate again, where you're just the writer.
Yeah. No, I wish. So I am actually writing and designing, and I do have an interiors artist that's working on the sequential art, and a separate artist that's working on the colors. And then I also
so you got a team.
Yeah, it's a small team, but I mean, we crank out some good work and very quick, for what it is.
Okay, so the big question is then not when you launch, which might be early December, but after you launch, when do you fulfill?
So fulfillment starts as soon as I made the mistake the first one where I waited until all 3 issues were done before I started fulfillment, and
it's a lot easier that way, though. I mean, you can't ship the books.
It is, but I feel like it made everything seem so long, right? I felt so bad because I had issue 1 and then issue 2, and for those people that ordered issue 1 and 2, I mailed those out right away. But the people that ordered the full volume or issues 1 through 3, I was sitting on issue 1 and 2, and I felt like, well, geez, I want to get these out to people because then they're going to get them and it's going to be this like mountain of reading for them, right? Not that they're very difficult to read, but
the shipping cost going multiple times will get you.
Yeah, I definitely have looked into that, and it is a little bit of a steep hill there. But what I want to do at the very least is start fulfillment on like the digital issues. I think is a quick, easy, send them out as soon as they're ready. But I did want to look into shipping out in batches as much as I could.
We're your guys.
The nice thing is that a lot of this, like I said, is already being worked on. So issues 4 and 5, and yes, send them digital copy while they wait. That's been the easiest, right?
That's actually the standard way too that I've seen it done. I mean, when people have multiple issues, I've not seen anybody break up the batches. It's just like,
okay,
hey, here's the digitals.
I felt like maybe that I was the only one doing that, and I felt so bad though, because it's like everything is ready. It's just waiting on this one thing to come in, and then of course now there's a paper shortage. So, fortunately, I have a good paper stock, so we're prepared for it. But there are things like that where you have to worry about, will there be another paper shortage? Is this going to continue for longer? Do I have the right amount of stuff everywhere? Yeah. Even plastic isn't scarce right now.
Oh, bags and backers! It was like impossible to get bags and backers for the longest time.
Right. And I got lucky. My wife is incredibly smart. Back when I first started the campaign, she was like, well, why don't you buy a big amount so that you're not buying, 50 here, 50 there. I went on Amazon, and I'm so cheap. I was like, well, I'll buy the 20 pack, and who knows how many I'll get. And, lo and behold, we got, I believe, a little over 70 backers on the first campaign.
Yeah.
But those 70 backers got 4 or 5 comics a piece. Some of them were like 10, and she's like, I told you, you got to get more. So with her prodding me, I ended up getting I think 1,000 of each.
Yep.
And
there
now I have a surplus, and I mean those things are selling for 3 or 4 times the cost right now. So
They'll
just
go.
having that
They'll go
surplus, I
quick.
got super lucky.
Yeah, I've got a miniature skyscraper in the corner here of Gemini mailers in bulk boxes.
Nice.
And I did same as you, 1,000 bags, 1,000 boards. I just sat here one day watching Netflix, just bag in board and bag,
Yeah.
board and bag. So now they're all ready, and I get a shipment of comics in. I'm like, slip. It goes right real quick. All right, so look for American Kaiju, possibly December, maybe January if you decide to, launch in a month that might be a little bit more advantageous. And I just want to thank you for bringing American Kaiju. Oh God, that's a movie.
Close
I think
enough.
Amerikaiju, bringing Amerikaiju onto the channel and educating us about this. This looks like a really fun project, and I like the extras you've thrown here. You've gone the extra mile with the toy. Tells me you're forward thinking with where this might go.
Yeah, I'm in it for the long run.
All right. Well, Edgar, thank you so much for being here. Definitely come back when you do launch. We'll try to, throw some of our viewers toward the contribution goal. But for right now, they should know about it. They should have clicked on the link below and just said, remind me, at least on the pre-launch page. And if you haven't, folks, please do that. The link's right down below. Folks in the chat, thank you so much for being here tonight. We literally do not have a show without you here to watch it. We're the proverbial tree falling in the woods. And as always, while you were here, we just hope you had a blast. Good night.